Well, it's all there in the book. So there's my preparation is really to get into the book. He's described through the eyes of Offred in the first person, but there is enough, I think, information on Commander Waterford and the, like you said, the totalitarian, patriarchal theocracy that's in place. But I think I came from a couple of angles. One is that he's doing good, that he knows there are sacrifices, he knows there's going to be pain, but in order to redress the moral decay and the issue of plummeting birth rates, that the regime has to put into place something that is brutal and practical. So that's one act. His angle is coming from a place where he's going to do good, and another, on a more personal line, the same with Offred. He wants to take care of Offred. The big key for me in their relationship was that the previous Offred, because they never use their names, it's always the property of Fred Waterford. So the previous Offred committed suicide. She hung herself because she obviously was so depressed and suicidal at her terrible life of servitude. And that, for me, was a big indication of what my questions were. What was the ramifications on Fred and his wife and the household? To lose a handmaid, that's to lose the possibility of having a child. So I think when June, the new handmaid, comes in, brilliantly played. I can't sit here and not sort of gush about Elisabeth Moss and what an extraordinary actress she is and performance that she gives as the lead in the show. But I think that he wants to take care of her. So yes, he's a monster, he's abusive, he's one of possibly the architects of this totalitarian state, but it always comes from an angle of just wanting to help and take care and do good. So for that for me was the way in. Well, she's a powerhouse of an actress and a wonderful actor to interact with. So there's I wouldn't say improvisation, but there's always a sense of exploring more and more and continuing the tension and exploring the relationship. Her need to survive is evident. Her life is always on the line. And the commander invites her to break the rules, which could have her killed. So there's this wonderful, tense interaction between the two of them, and I guess we just enjoyed exploring that. Well, I think Hollywood has always had a fascination of dystopian futures. We look at George Orwell's 1984, made into a film, and look at the Hunger Games even. So there's always been a fascination, but I think it's true to say that what Margaret Atwood has written in her book and what Hulu has adapted for the HBO series is are themes very relevant. Margaret Atwood herself describes that everything that is seen in the book and written about in the book or read about in the book has happened and is happening. And it's really a book that explores, of course, it's about, it's a great piece of feminist literature about what could happen in a male-dominated society and how fragile, actually, I think essentially it explores how fragile our democracies are, and they can change like that oppression lives right next to democracy and it can change overnight. It's there, it's with us all the time. It's in every new government that comes in with new corruption and so it's all across the world, and it's fundamentalism. I think it's the corrosive effects of power. Fred Waterford believes he's untouchable. I think that only comes from a sense of being so powerful that no one can touch you. So it explores all those themes that are really relevant today. And of course in America there's a big, very, very heated debate about women's autonomy of their bodies, the right to choose versus pro-life. And we're seeing huge, in the current administration, a huge amount of defunding of Planned Parenthood. So already, for a lot of women, the frightening truth is that that fundamentalism is evident even in the most democratic societies. So I think it's a cautionary tale, really, But I think there are parallels, and people are drawing parallels, and it's good to draw parallels. And we have to keep drawing parallels and not go to sleep and be stubborn and stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, is this happening on any level? Could this happen on any level? And I think that's really where the element that's most tense about the show lives. Well, I accepted, partly accepted taking part because I love Elisabeth Moss and Reed Morano, who's a director, and Bruce Miller, the showrunner. So the team was phenomenal, but I was only given 2 scripts, and the commander is very lightly drawn in the book to a degree, but certainly in the first part of the series. And so I had to read the book. And so it wasn't really until I'd read the book and understood just what an intelligent, gripping piece of narrative this was then that I joined. I mean, Margaret Atwood has an enormous following, and this is a seminal piece of feminist literature. But so there's always a sense of honouring that and doing our best to get it right. Luckily, I'm a tiny component, and really the people, the writers, the producers, the directors, the showrunners, Elisabeth Moss, they're carrying the big heavyweights, and I'm sort of in the background doing a little bit of lifting. But of course, one always wants to honour something that means so much to people. Several I don't know. Let's hope that this dystopian future has no real future, and that after 5 years we get to the limit. But you know, there's also the other flip side, is that this narrative resonates so much with people because so many people are living in almost a parallel world to Gilead in certain parts of the globe, that maybe it's an inexhaustible amount of narrative. I don't know, but I certainly think the novel has lots of areas that we can still explore. Also, we could go back into how Gilead came into power much more. I think we could look at the underground and the resistance. We could go to the colonies. There's so much that's mentioned in the book, and there's some bits of the book we haven't explored, but most of it we have. But there's a lot there. There's a lot there, and it looks like there's an audience that would like to examine it with us. I think we need more female voices, not just in narratives. I think we need them in producing. I think we need them in directing. I think we need them at running studios at high levels. So I think we do need more because, you know, feminism is essentially, you know, fighting for equality amongst the sexes, and until there is absolute resounding equality, we need more of this narrative. You'd have to ask her. I think she'd just like to get out of the house as fast as she can. You know, it's interesting. I think the Commander, deep down, the show is all about, I think, maybe a part of the show, not all of it, but a part of it is about human contact. And Fred doesn't have much contact with his wife, and so the person that he has the most contact, or wishes to have contact with, is Offred. But it's in a very complicated, abusive form. So I think he would like to continue that form of contact. I don't think anyone wants to see a spin-off about the Commander. We want a prequel. A prequel, maybe. We get some flashbacks in the series about how he and his wife operated before in their youth. But I think what we want is, you know, we have to remind ourselves and our viewers that this is an inspirational story. It's heavy narrative, but at the same time, it's about a woman surviving on pain of her life being taken away. And so there's great humour and wit and inspiration behind this heroine Offred. So I'd like to see more inspiring narratives. True. And we need more of that. Again, it's I think until the playing field is level with opportunities, we need to flip it around. You know, it's great being directed by 90% of the time female directors, which is, you know, not apparent in the rest of the industry. So I welcome that.